Our service department, we service vehicles the King of Price way. We sell tires, we sell brakes, we sell batteries, we sell the maintenance. We help you keep your vehicle on the road safe, ready to drive, whatever the season is. Randy Marion Service Departments have you covered. Come see us today because, folks, again, you know we sell the King of Price way and we do service the King of Price way.
King of Price, RandyMarionStatesville.com.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. We're expecting mostly clear skies throughout the rest of the day. That overnight low is going to be pretty cold tonight. We're getting down near 38 degrees. Sunny skies for your Tuesday morning, and as you head through the afternoon, we'll get up to a temperature near 70 degrees with very light winds. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. All right, we have made it back. We're in Studio A in Statesville. I'm back at a radio station, yes. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, on Friday, we did the scoreboard from South Iredell High School. Yes, that's right. We broadcast live from South Iredell High School on Friday. We were there to put a spotlight on South Iredell as they took on Lake Norman High School for their senior night. Unfortunately, South Iredell did fall in that game. They lost 24-10. It was a pretty decent game all in all, but hey, it's good to be back in a radio station studio with AC and no wet feet, and it's nice. So on Friday, when I was at that game, I was setting up my tent, right? And I had to walk through a bunch of grass to get to where I needed to go. And on Friday, it rained pretty hard for a while. It was hailing. I mean, the weather guy for WSIC mentioned nothing about hail, so pretty upset about that. But it was hailing. I had to pull over, and walking through all that wet grass, my feet were soaking wet. You know when you get wet feet and you can't take your shoes or socks off, and then like 4 hours later when you finally do, they're all wrinkly and nasty and gross? My feet still hurt. But we're still doing the scoreboard. I'm standing. I don't do this show sitting because I need to bring the energy for you. So we're going to get right to it today. There's so much to talk about. High school football, college football, NFL, MLB, Charlotte FC. They made the playoffs. Oh my goodness. I didn't think they would. But we're going to get into all of that today. If we have time, we're going to see what we can cover. Starting out with the game that we were at on Friday night, South Iredell at home against Lake Norman. And Lake Norman jumped out to a 14-0 lead pretty early in this one. I really was concerned for South Iredell. I thought it was going to be a lot uglier of a game than it turned out to be. But they put up a fight. They started to make a little bit of a comeback before Lake Norman put that final touchdown on the board in the fourth quarter to claim a 24-10 victory. There were some interesting things going on this game, and the most interesting of them, I saw a fake punt on the first possession of the game for South Iredell. Lake Norman had just come down the field and scored pretty quick, pretty easily, put up 7 on the board, and, well, South Iredell was going to go 3 and out. They brought the punt team out, and all of a sudden, it wasn't a punt. They went with a fake punt with a 1 yard to go on their own side of the field. They didn't end up getting it. Lake Norman capitalized and scored on that possession, and that's where those 14 early points come from. Just too much for South Iredell to overcome. But quarterback Tyler Johnson had a really good game. He threw for 84 yards on 11 of 17 passing. He also ran for another 140 yards and a touchdown. One of them was a pretty good scramble. He found the hole and bolted off to the right and put it across the goal line for a touchdown. But unfortunately, South Iredell's season is pretty much coming to an end here. 0-5 in the conference, 1 game remaining. That one on Friday against Cox Mill is going to be in Concord. So no more home games for South Iredell. And as I mentioned, they had their senior night while we were there. So all those seniors got to play their final game at South Iredell High School. So hopefully a memory that they'll be able to hold on to for a long time. But as we look forward here, Lake Norman sitting at 9-0, undefeated so far on the season. They really haven't been tested too many times. Statesville and North Meck were pretty much their biggest tests of the year. They had some other close games. But as we head down to the final couple of games of the season here, there's one more game for Lake Norman, and they're going to be taking on Mooresville at home on Friday. Kickoff for that game is scheduled to be at 6:30. And they're taking on Mooresville, who for the first time in like 7 weeks did not score 40 points. They did win. Mooresville took down A.L. Brown by a final score of 30-20 on that one. Plenty of offense all around. Quarterback Brody Norman throwing for almost 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and senior running back A.J. Baker ran 13 for 125. And Eric Heel, the junior, 13 for 111. So over 200, almost 300 total rushing yards for Mooresville in that game, as well as the 200 passing yards to go along with that. They had a really good game. It was only a 10-point final difference there by a score of 30-20, but a win is a win. And Mooresville, they're going to be taking on Lake Norman, 2 9-0 teams right at the end of the season, a rivalry game for the Mooresville area. That is going to be a fun one, and we'll see what game we can make out to this weekend. I want to do another remote broadcast, so we'll see who allows us to come crash their party and do the scoreboard from the field level. Also, we had West Iredell playing. They have lost yet another game, and unfortunately, that marks 4 in a row that they've lost. After a really promising start to the year at 5-0, West Iredell has not won in the past 4 weeks. They've been blown out on all but one of those games. They only lost by 7 against East Lincoln, but North Lincoln took them down by a final score of 38-7. So a really, really tough stretch for West Iredell as they fall farther behind in the standings. I don't know if they're going to be able to make up the ground and make the playoffs. They do play North Iredell coming up this week, who sits at 3-6 after another loss. They have also lost 4 games in a row. So a couple of teams looking to end the season on a win after a really long drought without getting that win. So we'll see what happens with those teams, who makes the playoffs, who doesn't make the playoffs. And we'll go from there. And Statesville High School, Statesville got another win. They played their game against St. Stephen's on Thursday by a final score of 48-10. That one, it puts Statesville at 7-2, and their next game is at home. They take on 9-0 Hickory. That's a huge game because when you look at the 3A Western Foothills Conference, Hickory is first, Statesville is second. They're right there. So we'll see who comes out on top of the standings there and advances and gets a good bid in the playoffs. We do know there's going to be a lot of teams in the area that get to the playoffs. We've had some really successful teams this year. Statesville, Mooresville, Lake Norman, they're all having really good years. So we'll look forward to talking about their playoff run in the near future. We're going to head to our first break of the day. Congratulations to all you high school students, and a special thank you to South Iredell for allowing us to be there on location, broadcasting from field level right before the game and actually through the first 30 minutes of the game. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Scoreboard here on WSIC. We're back right after this.
More of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg is coming up on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The WSIC yard sale is this weekend. Come by the radio station and enjoy a day of fun. The world-famous Pat Shannon will be hosting a special edition of the Home Ad Show. Live music, food trucks, bouncy houses. Selling starts at 6 a.m. this Saturday. Yard sale spots are free. The WSIC Yard Sale, 1117 Radio Road in Statesville. Saturday from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. Pumpkin picking at Kerrigan Farms. Experience the pumpkin patch at Kerrigan Farms by booking your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. kerriganfarms.com for a pumpkin picking adventure. Santa is coming to town. Schedule your time to take pictures with Santa at Birkdale Village. Spots are limited and must be scheduled in advance. Santa will be at Birkdale between November 19th and Christmas Eve. Appointments include time with Santa and 8 digital images from a professional photographer. For more info and to schedule your time with Santa, visit birkdalevillage.com. Want to enjoy a night of magic? Eric Jones, a worldwide award-winning magician, is coming to Kane Center for the Arts this Saturday. Buy your tickets before they sell out. kanearts.org. Eric Jones, the magician, this Saturday. Doors open at 7 p.m. kanearts.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays now through November 19th. Jousting, knights, mermaids, fairies, dragons, oh my! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. We're expecting mostly clear skies throughout the rest of the day. That overnight low is going to be pretty cold tonight. We're getting down near 38 degrees. Sunny skies for your Tuesday morning, and as you head through the afternoon, we'll get up to a temperature near 70 degrees with very light winds. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
The Statesville Family YMCA reminds you that older adults and those with chronic health conditions don't need to feel they must accept impaired balance and limited mobility. Build strength, improve balance, and gain confidence in your mobility through the Moving for Better Balance program. For questions and additional information, email C. Mullins at ymcanwnc.org.
Now, more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, we are back here on The Scoreboard. WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM, and I got ahead of myself in segment number 1. You're listening to WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM. Watch the video broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website, WSICnews.com. And you can be a part of the program, 704-873-1400. As it looks like we have a couple of calls already on hold here. Let's go ahead and take those phone calls. Thank you for calling into the Scoreboard. What's your name and what do you got for me today? Uh-oh. Hello? Caller, are you there? Let's try the next caller. Caller, you're calling into the Scoreboard. What's your name? What do you got for me today?
This is Long Island Charlie. I'm in New York. I listen to your program a few times a week. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I told you everybody that we are worldwide. We have a caller from Long Island. That is awesome. What do you got for me today?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but we talked a few months ago, and you touted that the Dodgers would go all the way.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay, well, they didn't go, and as I And as I told you, I was upset that my New York teams, both the Mets and Yankees, did not go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, they had some pretty tough years. The Yankees and the Mets both.
I know. But my point is now, Philadelphia is playing. The last time I looked, it was 3-1 Arizona.
Yep.
What is your prediction for this series?
For this series, man, it's a tough one because Philadelphia's offense is one that has not gone away all postseason, and a 3-1 lead in the third inning. If you're Arizona, I would be playing the game like you're behind because at any moment Philly can get two men on base and hit a home run. They have depth 1 through 9 in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I think though that we will get a Game 7. It just seems like that's the way this series is going to unfold. But I do expect Philadelphia to go back to the World Series, win that Game 7, and have a repeat chance at getting a World Series.
All right. Give me your American League prediction then.
Oh, man, we got Game 7 tonight. Man, this one's a little bit harder because I am one of those MLB baseball fans that still has a sour taste in my mouth from the Astros 2017 scandal. And I know 6 years ago, get over it. It still hurts a little bit, all right?
Okay.
I still, even with that being said, I just don't see the Astros going away in this one. They're a team that in the past 7 years has been there, done that. They know exactly how to win a Game 7. I expect to see Verlander on the mound for them in this Game 7, maybe not as a starter, but, a relief appearance, even if that. I do expect to see him, but it's one where I think Houston's going to end up showing that why they are a team that has made 7 consecutive ALCSs and has won the World Series multiple times in the past few years.
Okay. All right. So your prediction is Houston and Philly.
That is my prediction, and I think that's the one where America loses because I think the more entertaining matchup would be Arizona and Texas, just because that's two teams over the past few years where you don't hear about them. You hear about the Astros. You hear about the Phillies. I'm a fan of seeing those other teams go at it and try and get a World Series, but I think we're going to have pretty familiar teams this year.
Gotcha. I don't know if I told you the last time, and I'm sorry for monopolizing all your time.
No, not a problem.
But I'm an usher at Citi Field, so I get to watch most of the Mets home games.
Okay. Did you like the pitch clock this year?
I love the pitch clock. Not only as an employee, so I can get out there, get out of the stadium a few minutes earlier than previous years, but also as a fan. It keeps the game going. It keeps momentum flowing.
Yep.
And I love it.
Yep.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. Well, hey, thanks for calling into the show today. Hopefully I'll hear from you again here. Maybe we'll talk during the World Series and we see as we get later in that series who's going to win.
All right, you got it. Have a great night, Joe.
Thank you, you too, and thanks for calling in. And for anybody else who would like to call in, the phone number 704-873-1400, or you can call our other phone number. That's 844-STUDIO-4. That number live across all studios, 844-788-3464. And with that call, let's get into the baseball universe because yesterday we had the Texas Rangers forcing a Game 7 against Houston. And currently, as we speak, we are in the bottom of the third of the Diamondbacks. And, we're in the top of the fourth now. They just moved over, so it's top of the fourth. 3-1 Diamondbacks in a Game 6 as the Diamondbacks try to force a Game 7 against the Phillies. I really think that this ALCS and NLCS has been good, especially after no Game 3 in the wild card and no Game 5 in the divisional series. Call me a fair weather fan, call me whatever you want to call it. I like Game 5s. I like Game 7s. Winner take all one game, what are you going to do? We didn't get that in the MLB this year. Now, there's a lot of talk that might have been because of the way that the format is nowadays with the wild card and, it's a 3-game wild card series, so anybody who got the bye into the divisional round is going to be resting. And you got to remember, this isn't like the NFL where every team gets one whole week of rest. No, the MLB is different. They're playing 6 times a week, sometimes 7 times a week, at little 5 times a week. So they're always playing, and they're always getting that momentum and staying in rhythm. Well, you take 4 or 5 days off while the other teams are fighting for their playoff lives, and this is the result you get. You get some series where the top seeds get knocked out. The cream does rise to the top eventually. I mean, the Phillies are a team that made the World Series last year. The Astros were really good for the past, 10 years now? So the cream eventually rises to the top. But I really think that we are going to have a Game 7, and maybe the Diamondbacks are able to pour on a few more runs here in the middle innings to really seal that deal. But we won't know for a while. We'll probably still be on air, and we'll just be wrapping the show up while that game gets into the later innings. So I won't be able to tell you who wins, but if you're watching and paying attention, we're going to talk about it tomorrow, because after that, after this Game 6, we have the greatest games, or the greatest 2-word games. I'm trying to see how to phrase this. Like, the best 2 words in sports. Game 7. The Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros will be playing in a Game 7 at 8:03. Gotta love those weird baseball times. So stay tuned for that one, because that is going to be a great game. Unfortunately, it's in Houston, so Texas is going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball to start with, just because the fans won't be on their side. But you never know. It's a Game 7. One wrong pitch, one bad throw changes the entire game and changes the entire outlook of the postseason. So we'll see how that one goes. It looks like in the Phillies and Diamondbacks game, everything's kind of going out for out here. No real men on base after the first couple of innings showed a few runs, but it's kind of calmed down here as we get through this 4th inning. There's no big news in the MLB right now other than what's going on in the playoffs, but here's a big one. The Astros reliever Brian Abreu hit Adolis Garcia in Game 5, and the bench is cleared. It was a whole thing. There was a bench-clearing brawl in the ALCS, and Abreu was suspended for 2 games. Now, he appealed his suspension. His suspension was upheld, but it was deferred until 2024. 2-game suspension, so Brian Abreu will be able to play in the rest of the playoffs for as long as the Astros go. He is going to serve those 2 games at the beginning of 2024. Now, here's my question with this. What if Brian Abreu ends the season, they win a ring, and he says, you know what? I'm going to retire just because. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to. He's a young guy. But does the suspension become moot at that point? If you get suspended and they say, don't worry, you have to serve it next year, but then he decides to retire. What if he comes back? Does he then have to serve those 2-game suspension? I don't know. I just think it's interesting how you can have something happen in the playoffs, get suspended for that thing, and then when they decide to give you your punishment, they say you don't have to serve this punishment until next year after the playoffs. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll continue to keep you updated on Game 6 as we go through the rest of the show, but we're going to continue hitting all the topics we need to get to. Coming up, NFL, Charlotte FC, we're going to get into all that, and then some NASCAR, so stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Live music, vendor booths, and community yard selling. Fun for the whole family returns to Statesville for the WSIC Community Yard Sale, October 28th at 1117 Radio Road. Regular yard sale space is free. Or reserve a premium vendor spot for $50 American dollars.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Get your spot today. WSIC Community Yard Sale, October 28th. Visit WSICnews.com/yard sale.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. We're expecting mostly clear skies throughout the rest of the day. That overnight low is going to be pretty cold tonight. We're getting down near 38 degrees. Sunny skies for your Tuesday morning, and as you head through the afternoon, we'll get up to a temperature near 70 degrees with very light winds. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
Quality Car Care is your local Toyota specialist and a licensed NC inspection station. Plus, find a huge selection of quality pre-owned cars at QualityCarCareStatesville.com or call 704-871-2535.
Hello, friends. This is Dwight with Gullion's Christian Supply and Homeschool Headquarters, inviting you to join the Gullion family and staff in praising the Lord for 30 years of providing you with trustworthy and inspiring books, Bibles, music, gifts, and supplies. We so appreciate your support and friendship over all these years. With locations in King and Statesville, North Carolina, visit us again soon for encouraging fellowship and essential provisions for your Christian life. Gullion's Christian Supply and Homeschool Headquarters, where the Bible stands.
Fall is here, and Lil Shavers has the supplies you need. Wheat straw, pine needle, grass seed, pelletized line, landscape edging, and railroad cross ties. Got a deck that needs staining? Lil Shavers has PPG paints and stains at prices you can afford. Fall is a great time to replace your furnace filters at Lil Shavers. Get the products you need at reasonable prices from Lil Shavers, 3301 Salisbury Road in Statesville. Make your work easier with Eagle Rentals of Troutman and Statesville. Eagle Rentals has generators, heaters, fans, painting equipment, floor care equipment, pressure washers, lighting equipment, and lawn care equipment. Plus, Eagle Rentals has construction equipment like forklifts, bobcat loaders, backhoes, excavators, and more. Reserve online at EagleRentals.com. That's EagleRentals.com.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't fix America's debt by starving its people.
Have your say.
One shooting after another, and we're doing nothing to solve it?
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
A new voice for the offense. I'm Anish Shroff with this Panthers update.
It's bow time. It's not just football season. It's tailgate season, and that includes every kind of football, whether it's got goalkeepers or goalposts. The kick is good! Because it doesn't matter where or how you tailgate. When you've got crispy chicken and fluffy buttermilk biscuits from Bojangles, your tailgate is better than great. It's legendary. Open the Bojangles app and order your tailgate box with boldly seasoned chicken, fixins, biscuits, and legendary iced tea today.
It's bow time.
Before the season even started, Panthers head coach Frank Reich let it be known that at some to-be-determined date, he would hand over the play calling to offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. That baton has officially been passed, and Brown will call plays starting this Sunday against Houston.
Being able to have a chance to eventually call plays is, I think, should be every coordinator's, dream. I would believe, I would expect from that standpoint. That's something we discussed throughout the process of my interview process. So. Definitely excited about the opportunity.
Brown credited Frank Reich for trusting him, despite the two having never worked together prior to this season.
I do think he is very intentional about what he does and what he says, and I do honor the fact that he's a man of his word, and he's been that way from day one. Like I said at the beginning, this is a rare opportunity in a process to not have any involvement with somebody who's going to be hiring a coordinator for the first time, to first get that opportunity, but on top of that, to trust him enough to hand over the play calling duties to him, which is kind of just shows you what type of rare individual he is. But I think when it comes to the overall weight of play calling standpoint, just being able to kind of be in a passive regard, and I think most times people rarely give up opportunity to call plays. It's normally forced. So I think it says a lot about him from a character standpoint about him sticking to his word and kind of being true to who he is.
I'm Anish Shroff on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network, presented by Morris Jenkins.
It's the Scoreboard with your host, Sports Director Joe Berg, on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, we are back. Second half of the show here today on the Scoreboard. You're listening to WSIC 105.9 100.7 FM, and always streaming the video live to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website, WSICnews.com. We are worldwide. No better example than a caller from Long Island here today, talking about baseball and who we think is going to go to the World Series. Well, game's still going on right now. Still 3-1. No update for you as of right now, but keeping an eye on it to see if there is any changes. All right, here's an interesting storyline from Sunday in the NFL. The NFL is investigating the Atlanta Falcons after Bijan Robinson was not included on the injury report and he didn't play. He had one carry for 3 yards. And head coach Arthur Smith told Fox he wasn't feeling well when asked about the usage. ESPN noted Robinson said he was feeling completely out of it and started feeling weird and having a headache on Saturday night. He also said he wasn't tested for a concussion or given a COVID test. Now, I did notice that Bijan Robinson did not play. I noticed it because, I mean, it's pretty noticeable. He's one of the most talented rookies that we have this year, and he wasn't on the field. I thought that there was something going on with the coaching staff. I thought maybe there was an issue at practice or something happened to where the coaches made a decision like, hey, Bijan, you're not playing today. Kind of like what Bill Belichick did with Malcolm Butler on a bigger scale, though, during the Super Bowl. Something happened, and he said, guess what? You don't get to play in the Super Bowl. But apparently, there is a hidden injury, and this is massive. Like, you cannot be doing this. If somebody is hurt in the NFL, you have to disclose it. And the reason they make that a rule is because betting, fantasy football, money. There were a lot of people who lost a lot of money because Bijan Robinson didn't play, and they had no idea he wasn't going to play. And I don't blame these people for being up in arms. I would be mad too because you have to disclose injuries. It is a rule. You get in trouble for not doing this. So the NFL is going to be investigating the Falcons because of the limited usage that Bijan Robinson had on Sunday. I don't know what's going to come of this. I don't know if they say you're fined because you didn't disclose an injury. Even a sickness has to be disclosed. So we'll see what happens with that situation. By the way, the Falcons did end up beating the Buccaneers by a score of 16-13. That game was played in Tampa. The Falcons improved to 4-3, and the Buccaneers dropped to an even 3-3. That was not even one of the better games of the weekend. We had a lot of surprises this weekend. The Ravens demolishing the Detroit Lions and showing why they really shouldn't be considered Super Bowl contenders just yet. You have the Bears getting their second win of the year against the Raiders, who were sitting at 3-3. Now, granted, Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt. He didn't play. But still, the Bears win. You have the Browns in probably the most entertaining game of the weekend. Browns-Colts, the phantom PI call that wasn't really a pass interference because the ball was completely uncatchable, Well, the Browns end up winning anyway. Score of 39-38. This one, I'm like 90% sure that I called this on the air. I said that the Bills had a trap game this weekend. They're going to Foxborough. They're playing a Bill Belichick team that people are talking about Belichick being on the hot seat. What? It just felt like one of those games where the Patriots are going to Patriot. And that's exactly what happened. Patriots at home, hosting the Bills, get their second win of the year. Final score 29-25. Something about that game was just calling to me and saying, hey, knock, knock, knock. The Bills aren't going to win. Well, guess what? They lost. They fall to 3-4 now. The Buffalo Bills, a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, falls to 3-4. And right now, I'm pretty sure they're out of the playoffs if the season were to end today. But lucky for them, the season does not end today. Because you have the Chiefs, you have the Dolphins, you have the Ravens, and you have the Jaguars. Those are your division leaders right there. And 3 playoff teams. Well, the Bills actually barely sneak in on that as we have Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Buffalo as what would be the 3 wild card teams. And then a lot of teams right there about a game behind. So this is still early in the season, a long way to go before the playoff picture really starts to take shape. But if it ended right now, the Bills would be the final team in. The Bengals would miss the playoffs. That is a really interesting one. The Chargers would also miss the playoffs. So just something to keep in mind as we go through the year. Like, hey, the AFC is it's a bloodbath this year. A lot of good teams. There's a couple of great teams, and then there's a lot of really good teams. And then there's a few good teams and then a few bad ones. Some other results from the weekend that may or may not have been surprising. The New York Giants taking down the Washington Commanders 14-7. What an entertaining game that was. And then you also had the Broncos beating the Packers 19-17 as the Broncos get their second win of the year. But the big one that everybody was talking about, the Dolphins at 5-1 against the Eagles, also at 5-1. And well, the Eagles, they showed why they were the NFC champions last year. The Dolphins really had their second test of the year. They lost to the Bills, who were a playoff team last year. They did beat the Chargers earlier in the year, which, okay, that's good, but we're starting to see the Chargers really aren't all that this year. And then the Dolphins head to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia shows them what's what. And the Eagles get the win 31-17. Tua didn't play great. The defense for the Eagles was the defense for the Eagles. They have one of the most unfair defensive lines in all of football. And now the question marks begin for the Dolphins. Are they really a team that can make a run in the playoffs if the only 2 times so far that they've played a real team, they lost? Long way to go. We're not going to jump to any conclusions here. I know everybody wants to jump to conclusions when you talk about sports, but no, it's a long season. Lots of things can happen. Speaking of lots of things happening, we have Panthers football coming back. Yay! We're off of the bye week. The Panthers are going to be playing the Texans as Houston comes into town on Sunday. That game is going to be at 1 o'clock. All right, we got our final segment of the show coming up. We're not going to get to everything. We'll save some of it for tomorrow. When we come back, we're going to talk about NASCAR. There was a lot that happened at Homestead. I don't know, is there a saying, what happens in Miami stays in Miami? I don't think so. I don't think so. But we'll talk about it. We'll see what happened. You're listening to The Scoreboard here on WSIC. Don't go anywhere. We will be back right after this.
Keep it right here. There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way from the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. The WSIC yard sale is this weekend. Come by the radio station and enjoy a day of fun. The world-famous Pat Shannon will be hosting a special edition of the Home Ad Show. Live music, food trucks, bouncy houses. Selling starts at 6 a.m. this Saturday. Yard sale spots are free. The WSIC yard sale, 1117 Radio Road in Statesville. Saturday from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. Pumpkin picking at Kerrigan Farms. Experience the pumpkin patch at Kerrigan Farms by booking your experience now at kerriganfarms.com. kerriganfarms.com for a pumpkin picking adventure. Santa is coming to town. Schedule your time to take pictures with Santa at Birkdale Village. Spots are limited and must be scheduled in advance. Santa will be at Birkdale between November 19th and Christmas Eve. Appointments include time with Santa and 8 digital images from a professional photographer. For more info and to schedule your time with Santa, visit birkdalevillage.com. Want to enjoy a night of magic? Eric Jones, a worldwide award-winning magician, is coming to Kane Center for the Arts this Saturday. Buy your tickets before they sell out. kanearts.org. Eric Jones, the Magician, this Saturday. Doors open at 7 p.m. kanearts.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays now through November 19th. A non-stop outdoor family adventure. Huzzah! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com while supplies last.
And now for a look at your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. We're expecting mostly clear skies throughout the rest of the day. That overnight low is going to be pretty cold tonight. We're getting down near 38 degrees. Sunny skies for your Tuesday morning, and as you head through the afternoon, we'll get up to a temperature near 70 degrees with very light winds. This has been your weather forecast from the WSIC Weather Center.
Johnson's Parts and Supply, your Auto Value Auto Parts store, carries Wagner brakes as well as Gates belts and hoses. They also make their own hydraulic hoses. Johnson's Auto Parts, your Auto Value Auto Parts store, 1112 Shelton Avenue, Statesville.
Breaking news, expert analysis, and the stories that matter most, all in one place.
I totally acknowledge seeing flames is a scary situation.
WSIC News Talk Now.
The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, final segment here on the Scoreboard. You're listening to WSIC 105.9 100.7 FM. If you want to call in the final segment, 704-873-1400. That is our phone number. Couple of things before we get into NASCAR. Number one, I want to make a correction. I misspoke. The dyslexia got me, and I said the Bills were 3-4. No, the Bills are 4-3. They're in better shape than that. So thank you, Miss Kim Volk, for correcting me on that one. And also a little piece of news, little piece of station news. This, I got it right here, hot off the press. It's hot, and it's hot. WSIC will be carrying Charlotte FC's playoff game on Wednesday. Woo! We made the playoffs. I know I mentioned it earlier in the show. Whew! We got 10 minutes left. Let's survive. Let's do it. I mentioned it earlier in the show today that Charlotte FC, they got the win that they needed, although they tried as hard as possible to throw it away. They got the win they needed. They're in the playoffs. They got the help they needed. They will be taking on the Red Bulls on Wednesday First time ever, Charlotte FC is in the playoffs. So catch that game right here on WSIC. Coverage begins Wednesday right after this show. So at 7 o'clock, we will hear Charlotte FC's playoff game. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. I am so excited. I was pretty excited that Charlotte FC made the playoffs. Like, if anybody watched that game, they were up 1-0. And in the 90th minute, what happens? What happens in the 90th minute? What always happens to Charlotte FC? They tried as hard as they could to blow the game. And Kalina, the goaltender, came up with some of the most incredible saves that I've ever seen on a soccer field. One of them, a fingertip save. One of them, a goal or a corner kick that would have gone straight into the net had it not been for him. And then a scramble in front that he ended up getting a piece of. Man, there were 3 opportunities that Inter Miami had to get that game tied and knock Charlotte out, but it wasn't meant to be. One last piece of news here before we move on. We got to get all the housekeeping out of the way. 4-1 Arizona. They have put another run on the board. So Arizona leading 4-1, 3-2 count in the second inning, top of the 5th with a runner on third. Maybe they get another run across the board before the show ends. But then again, maybe not. NASCAR over the weekend. They were at Homestead Miami Speedway. There was a lot that happened in this race. But before we get into it, let's hear the 1-minute race recap from MRN.
Green flag in the air, and we are racing NASCAR Cup Series style at Homestead.
Double back straightaway. One car gets turned around, and it will be Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Kyle Larson with the stage win.
Oh, Larson bobbles at corner entry. Larson's got a problem. He's going to skate at the racetrack. Blaney is there for the lead on 4.
Ryan Blaney wins the stage. William Byron will be second.
The call just went out. Pit now, back up, and Kyle Larson slides. He hits the barrier to the driver's right. Sand flying everywhere.
What a move by Christopher Bell from 3rd to 1st, going through 3 and 4.
No, into the fence now is Denny Hamlin. Hamlin hits the wall, and he hits it hard. Byron gives him 2 grooves as he heads for the fence. Here they come, side by side. Bell slides up and takes the lead.
As he comes across the line, Christopher Bell has scored the win in the Forever 400 presented by Mobile One.
We talked about Christopher Bell, and we heard from Christopher Bell all last week about how he didn't think Homestead was one of his better tracks. Well, Christopher Bell, for the second year in a row, goes into the round of 8, wins a race in the round of 8, and punches his ticket to the championship. Now he has nothing to worry about at Martinsville next weekend. There was a lot of other things that happened in this race. Not only did we have a championship driver make the Final Four, we had, Kyle Larson had a moment where he hit the tire barrier separating the pit wall from the racetrack. They had a moment where Denny Hamlin's car just decided to stop turning. He didn't really blow a tire. The car just stopped turning on him. Then immediately following that, Martin Truex Jr. had an engine expire. There was a lot going on in this race. So here's how things shake out right now. And actually, before we get into that, one driver that I'm really surprised that we didn't hear from is Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick's a guy that usually runs pretty good at Homestead. But it wasn't meant to be. He had a pretty okay run, I guess you could call it. And he sits behind right now in the playoffs. So here's how we shake down going into Martinsville, the final chance to make the championship 4 transfer. Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, clinched. They have moved on. No questions asked. They both have a win in this round. William Byron is 30 points to the good. He's not safe, though. 30 points is absolutely not safe. We're not going to act like 30 points is safe because you can lose. We saw Denny Hamlin lose 27 points in about 2 laps. It can happen. So that's how that shakes out. And then the final driver in, after a great run, is Ryan Blaney. 10 points to the good. Tyler Reddick, 10 points behind Blaney. Then you have Truex and Hamlin, both 17 points out. And then there's Chris Buescher, who is in a must-win situation. He is 43 points out. I'm going to say Truex and Hamlin are also in must-win situations because they not only have to race each other, but they have to race Tyler Reddick and Ryan Blaney. And to an extent, William Byron, although they are way behind Byron. Nobody expected this. Denny was running in the top 5. He was like 6 points to the good. All of a sudden, he goes into turn 1, and this is after about a 3 or 4 lap battle with Ryan Blaney, where Denny Hamlin showed yet again why people are not big fans of him this year. He just kept using up Ryan Blaney and using up Ryan Blaney. And boy, I'm surprised that those two didn't wreck. I really am. It reminded me, to a lesser extent, of the battle that Denny Hamlin had with Joey Logano at Auto Club, the way that they were running so hard side by side. Granted, at least in Auto Club back in 2013, we're going way back now. At least that was for the win on the last lap. Blaney and Hamlin were battling for third with like 20 to go. Don't do this. And I don't understand the logic behind the drivers nowadays. 20 to go, you know, in these cars specifically, that when you race side by side, you lose momentum with the side draft. You lose momentum because you can't use the entire corner. So why, with only 20 to go, are you battling this hard for third? Get in line. Let things settle down a little bit. Save your tires, maybe. I am not a race car driver, so I don't know if this is a good idea or not. But it just doesn't make sense to me that those two would drive so hard, so early in a restart, when Christopher Bell and William Byron are running away from you. And granted, William Byron, he didn't have the best long-run car, so he ended up falling off. Ryan Blaney had a good long-run car. And I'm 90% sure that the battle that he had with Denny Hamlin is the reason he didn't win the race, because he was closing on Christopher Bell in those final 10 laps before I think he realized he wasn't going to get there and said, you know what, back it down, don't wreck the race car, come home second, which is smart. But tearing up those tires in those 3 laps that he battled Denny Hamlin is the reason why I think Blaney did not win this race. Now, Blaney ended up finishing second, and Tyler Reddick, after not being heard from the entire day, ended up coming home with a 3rd-place finish, which was cool and all. But it could have been better. It could have. Blaney probably could have gotten there. And in that final run, Tyler Reddick was the fastest car on the track. He does this every year at Homestead, it seems like. In the final 30, 40 laps, he decides to be the fastest car on the track. Okay. Boy, the end of the show snuck up on me. We're already here. I didn't even get to all the points that I wanted to get to with NASCAR. So we'll talk more about NASCAR, college football, Charlotte FC, anything else that we missed over the weekend. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thanks for rocking with me here. Your final update in the MLB game. We still have a 4-1 ball game as we head to the bottom of the 5th. Diamondbacks looking to force a Game 7. There is a Game 7 at 8 o'clock tonight. Houston taking on Texas. That's the Rangers taking on the Astros from the Astros Stadium. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, everyone. See ya.